Thank you to everyone who's rejoined us today. This session is being recorded. If you do not watch to be recorded, don't put your video on, but we do welcome you. If you want to partake in this, put your video on and join in. Thank you so much for everyone who's joining us today. Amreeta, Corey, and I saw someone else that jumped up on my screen, is joining us to talk about Annature. So Annature is a new e-signing solution. So first of all, Amreeta, let me, because I can see a few more people jumping in. So how about you let people know where you're from and what your favourite lunch is?
Yeah, perfect. And thanks so much for the welcome. I feel really privileged to be on this session with you, and I can see so many familiar names from my prior business, which was now Infinity. But probably leading from that, my experience with legal documentation or any form of documentation and a signing solution is something that I've been committed to for the last 10 years, and we really brought that to life through that platform of now Infinity. But since selling the company, teamed up with my business partner, Corey and Mitali, and we have now launched Annature. And Annature it's all about, well, it's not all about, but we are going paperless, but we're really transforming businesses, and we're really trying to get them into this digital world. And today is all about explaining that. So it's not just e-signing, there's a lot more to it, and how you communicate not only with your clients, but your employees and with banks and other commercials. This is what we've all brought in together.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Amreeta. Corey, would you like to share with us your favourite lunch?
Yeah, look, a nice wood-fired pizza is my go-to.
Oh, excellent. Well, Amreeta, do you have lunch?
Not often, actually. I'm just trying to think. What I had for
You're
breakfast.
Just learning during lunch.
Yeah. I'm just learning on this one. And I've got a full bottle of water ready to go, but lunch after.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much. Let's just launch into it. Amreeta is going to, and Corey are just going to simply go through, respond to questions, and then go on to the demonstration. So, Annature, what problem does it solve?
It's actually modernising the businesses, and it's not just an accounting business, it's all industries. And we can see that particularly during COVID, the inefficiencies of having to actually send out documentation to actually being face-to-face where we simply couldn't. So it's actually resolving all of that. So it's bringing in efficiencies. It's much more cost effective. It's saving the environment. We're getting rid of paper, and also the need to have full work of cabinets full of paper, and it's much more secure. So we're solving quite a few problems there, but I would suggest that the main one is affordability, efficiency, security, and really modernising your business.
Yeah, absolutely. I do think that when you're starting to talk to someone about modernising their business, coming into anything that can remove paper is the direction that you need to go in, because it just makes everything so much more efficient.
Well, I think I guess the matter for this year will be switch to digital, if you hadn't already gone through that last year, and everybody found themselves in a position where they had to move fast. And so opportunity was born, and here we are.
Fantastic. So what does Annature work well with?
Annature works well. So from a customer's perspective, anything that needs to be signed, whether it's a contract, whether it's an agreement, whether it's an application, whether it's any type of form, what it actually does then, it can integrate. It does integrate with the likes of Microsoft Office or Outlook, also integrates with Xero and quite a few other partners that we have. So it's very horizontal, and we've got with over 900 add-on partners with Xero, and for the bookkeepers and for the accountants, we're connecting with them. So we're actually helping bolstering up their business, making sure that they've got a really robust system, but also too for the end consumer that's needing these documents. And that could be anything. Again, real estate, that's a big one. Conveyancing's a nightmare. Anything legal is a nightmare. And we also find that we're seeing that there's a lot of cosmetic people actually signing off and having these face-to-face and getting the clearance to get the Botox or whatever they need done. So it's very good.
I think it's really important for people listening in to recognise it's really very much a horizontal solution, and by that we mean it's typically going to be a solution that works across all industries, such as a receipt scanning solution. A receipt scanning solution works across all industries. So that is typically very, very easy to talk to clients about. Is there anything that it doesn't really work well with? I can't think of anything. Maybe someone is prepared not to go paperless.
Well, I think so. I think there is some circumstances, especially around the estate planning, and this has been one of the biggest changes, probably the most progressive for the Law Society. I've been working with them all last year, and how they had to move really, really quick, because, you know, to have the wills there and then to have signing, you know, with electronic transaction marks, they were saying that you needed to have the witness, you know, in the same house, even though the electronic signing was adopted, but the witnessing didn't allow for it, because you couldn't, you know, obviously particularly for Melbourne, you weren't able to go over and be in front of them. So I think I'm yet to find any industry where it's not valuable, and that could be, you know, like I said, internal documentation, the way that you communicate with your clients. Proposals are much faster. Engagement letters are much easier. So I'm struggling to see where it doesn't fit. So maybe someone else can tell me which one. But
it's a standard question.
Yeah, the only one that I've actually have come across is that I actually asked a pilot. I said, I'm still waiting on the planes, even though we've had a bit of a respite from flying. But you know how you sit on the tarmac and they said, we're just waiting for the paperwork. And that's the one that they said, we still can't do that. So maybe in that case.
It's interesting, yeah. Or all that little form that you fill out when you do customs declaration that would be a good one if we could automate that onto our iPhone or our mobile device. What does it integrate with? You've mentioned, I think, a lot of solutions. Is there anything else there that you need to mention?
I think Corey probably best to go to talk to this one. We do have, I saw a question just coming through about Zapier. Yes, we've only just started the journey of the integration, but we do have the likes of FYI Docs, My Prosperity. So that's just on the Outlook, Xero, Dropbox, you know, all your storage devices we are connected to. And we have a very long list of other add-on partners that are actually lining up and saying, well, how else can we embed that? I can't think of anyone else that comes to mind off the top of my head. Corey?
Yeah, so we've started by identifying the biggest use case for software. So Xero being the biggest one, we've moved into Office 365, and how those integrations work is we look at databases and where the data is living at the moment. And what we're trying to do is to prevent replication. So where you're using data in a database, where you're using files for your file storage, whether that be OneDrive, Google Drive, Dropbox, where the integrations that we're building are to facilitate not having to replicate files, data.
Yeah, and human error and one source of truth there. We find that if you have to keep retyping it, or if you have to keep recreating that template, it's really inefficient. So with that, with those integrations, it's speeding it up.
Yeah, absolutely. And to highlight, there are a couple of questions in relation to this, which I'll probably, can you go to those and respond to any of those? Can you see them in the chat area?
I can see that one there. Someone said they ding it.
they love it. I think that was
love it. Thank you. We love it too. We really, you know, it's such a feature-rich platform. And as I said, in our prior business, you know, 9 years of having in-depth experience of how and what we should embed and how it actually can communicate with recipients was really, really important. And we've simplified it with an affordable price. So thank you very much for that compliment.
It was a heart and an ing for people who are not reading the chat area. Loving these young people with their emojis. So let me just touch on some of these were actually quite relevant. You said Zapier, and you said you're working on the Zapier route, which is excellent. XPM, which is XPM?
Yep, that's a really good question. So for those that do know me, I've been very much working closely with Xero for such a long time as a distribution channel, but also as a software provider. And we have, we're in communications with exactly how we want to connect to XPM. XPM has gone through a new API redevelopment. And so watch this space. We'll be working very closely. The other one is that we've had lots of queries about Xero doc packs and how we can actually use them. So at the moment, the best solution is, sorry, that is me. I know I was supposed to have the window shut, but it's a truck going past. So with the, it is a bit of a two-step where you can download the file and simply put it into Annature. We're working on automating that. So we can just drag and drop that information in and wait from there as well. The other question that came up, I think, from Kelly Char was the groups and stuff, groups inside XPM, and we're working closely with them on that one too.
Okay, excellent. And for anyone who's watching this on YouTube, this is being recorded at the end of March. So if that is a question for you, just check, because updates happen so quickly. So I just want to be mindful of that integration there. Someone has asked about Xero 365. Is that Microsoft 365? Is that the lingo for Microsoft 365 and SharePoint?
Yeah, so SharePoint not being so much of a contacts database, no, not at the moment. Where we do fit in with Office 365 is the Outlook database. So it's syncing the contacts, the names, the email addresses, all the other subsidiary information we have associated with a client that you're working with. That's what we're able to sync in, so you're not having to enter that again when essentially you're sending out envelopes for signature.
Excellent. And I think this leads nicely into the next question, which I think is for you, Corey. What is the relationship between, say, Annature and your accounting package? So if we pick Xero, what's that relationship?
Yeah, so Xero is your source of truth. This is where your data sits. This is where you have all of your clients. In the sense of how we use that data to then send new envelopes, Annature kind of sits on top of that, leveraging off the existing information that you've collected through your many years of being a business. And it's through that data that we already have access to through the integration that we're able to detect names, email addresses, mobile numbers. And the benefit of doing that is that we are not needing to rely on the manual process of typing in an email address or a mobile number. The consequences of getting something like that wrong, while it's very simple to miss a number in a mobile or to misspell a name in an email address. It's what it results in is your recipient not receiving the file. So where you're sending something, it doesn't reach the intended recipient. So what this does is eliminate all of that human error, which we're all guilty of doing, and ensures that it's always being delivered to the intended recipient.
Excellent. Thank you for that, Corey. Now I'm wondering if you're able to show us how we set it up and maybe sort of give us some sort of demonstration.
Yeah. So I'll get my screen up here, and I can't see this, but is this showing? Is this showing right?
You're good. So one of the major things is making this a really simple process. We've got so many applications that we're all having to log into, so we've simplified this. So we can see your screen, Corey.
Yeah, perfect. So we will start by creating an account. So this from Annature, when we're signing up with a new account, we can sign in using Xero. So this is already detected on my computer. I log into Xero frequently. This is detected that my session exists, and we can go through and create an account without having to sign in with a new password.
Look, you type as fast as those coders in all those spy movies.
Yeah, 10 years, well, more than 10 years we'll do that. But look, from here, we've just created a free account. So we're now on trial for 7 days, and the 7-day trial with Annature has unlimited access, all features, unlimited sends. There's really no restrictions. And the benefit of using this trial is that it gives you enough time to give it a go, see how it works, make a decision. Is this going to work for you? So the first steps we generally recommend when creating an account is to start branding it. And what branding allows you to do is upload a logo and a color. So these are going to be your business logo, your color. And what this does is it brands all communications that we deliver to your clients. And this is important to remove Annature from the correspondence. It's your brand, your relationship is what you've built with your client, the association to your brand. This is what they're going to recognize. This is what they're going to be familiar with. So this is generally where we recommend to start off with a logo and a color. Most businesses have a primary color. The second step is to do the import from Xero. So we can go into integrations here to see our panel of integrations at the moment, and we can connect up to Xero. So again, this will be a familiar process for anybody that's used existing software before that, again, communicates with Xero. And all we're doing here is asking access to the contacts. Once this comes back, we can then run an import. So what an import's going to do is behind the scenes, it's going to scan all of your contacts in Xero, take a snapshot, and then import them into what we refer to in Annature as your address book. So this is a bunch of fake names and email addresses that we've loaded up prior to this. And in Xero, this is exactly what we see in Xero. This is our database that we have in Xero, and it's now synced into Annature. So those are the two steps we generally recommend for accountants is to get started. Add your colors, upload your logo, and connect it up to Xero so your data's in there ready to go. Next, we'll go through sending an envelope. So it's a very simple 4-step process. An envelope is something that we refer to as also being a transaction. So this is a document or a collection of documents that need to be signed by a recipient or a collection of recipients. We start by dragging and dropping files. So these are PDF files that you have produced. Maybe these are activity statements that you've downloaded from Xero. Maybe these are engagement letters that you are, you've got a repository on your computer or your file system. So we begin with the PDFs. Now, as we've seen here, we can upload more than one PDF. This isn't a one document per transaction. We can upload multiple. Then we go to adding the recipients. So the recipients are anybody that's involved in the transaction, whether they need to actually sign the document, whether they need to be aware of the document, having receive a copy to let them know that it's gone out, or whether they need to view and acknowledge the contents of the document. We will use my name and email address of the account that we've just created. And if we go to the address book, and again, because these are just fake names that we've loaded in, we'll look at Blossom. So if we were going to send a document to Blossom, back here when we add a second recipient, as we start typing in Blossom's name, it's come up with a suggestion. So clicking that will fill out the entire name of Blossom and Blossom's email address. If a mobile number also exists in Xero, it would pre-populate the mobile number as well. And what we use mobile numbers for is a second point of communication in addition to an email. And the intent of this is to provide as many ways as possible for your recipients to action a document. If we think about our day-to-day, how we interact with our emails, we're receiving hundreds of emails a day. Often they can go missed and they can get forgotten based on the number that are coming in. Text messages, on the other hand, are a different story. It's natural for us to look at a text message purely due to us not receiving that many, where emails, so many come through. I'll get to it later. Text messages are a different story. So with the recipients, so these are the two individuals that are associated with this document. Now what we're going to do is prepare this for signing. So by prepare, what this means is we can see the contents of the documents that we're sending out. So this here may look like an engagement letter where we're collecting some information and a signature down the bottom. So this page is a very simple drag and drop where we can drag different types of fields from the left-hand side. Here we're asking for a signature and we're asking for a date. We can also use fields such as an email address, which will validate to ensure that what we're receiving in this is an actual email address. And we can also do things like business addresses and names. Where there are two people involved in a document, a BAS statement possibly going to two individuals to sign, or an engagement letter where you're engaging two directors of a company, we can switch the recipient and see that we now have a color-coded system to identify which recipients are needing to sign in which location. Once we're happy with where those signatures are placed, we can hit save. And then all we're really doing lastly is giving it a name. So we're happy with an engagement letter. And in this, we can type in a message. Hello, Corey. This is your engagement letter. Please sign and return. On the right-hand side, as we filled out the message, what we're seeing here is a preview of the email that Annature sends to the recipients looks like. So we can see here that it's actually being branded with the logo and the colors that we uploaded in the first step to, again, remove Annature from the correspondence with the recipients. When we're happy with the name and the message, we can hit send. Now, because I'm sending this envelope to myself, as an example here today, we can sign this straight away. So what this looks like normally for a recipient is an email that looks like this. So we've got the name of the envelope that we've just entered in on that last screen, and a nicely formatted email here, branded with your logo and colors, where they can click review and open this screen right here. So the first step we do when we're entering a process of digitally signing as a recipient is we first agree. We might type in an address, and here we have the signature. So collecting a digital signature can be done using one of three methods. We can select from an option that we have generated for you, or we can draw our signature using a mouse. This feels a lot more natural when using a mobile phone, having your finger on the screen. Even better if you have an iPad with a much larger screen, drawing with your finger. The third option is we can upload an image. So if you happen to have an image of a signature that you've drawn on paper, you can upload that into Annature and we'll create a digital signature of that image. For this, we'll just choose the first option here. It's also important to know that when we're talking about digital signatures, the signature itself is not what's important. What we're collecting in this process is consent and intent. So consent is the process that we first went through where we present them with a document, we identify the sender, being Annature in this case, and we collect intent. And intent is all captured through all of the different metadata that we collect behind the scenes. And that includes IP address of the device we're using to sign, actual information about the device, and we create a unique fingerprint using that as well. Using email address, two-factor authentication when we want to enable it is all just evidence to support someone's intent to sign. Once we hit finish, we can then go back into our dashboard as the sender and check the status of this envelope. So we've just finished what a recipient completes. They've just signed. Now, as a sender, we need to know when that occurs. For envelopes that go to multiple recipients, we need a way to know who's signed and who hasn't signed. Who do we need to follow up? Who do we need to call and say, you know, we've just sent you an email. Please sign. And this is what we can see from this page here. So this envelope that we just sent out goes to two people, and we're just waiting on Blossom to sign. Given that this is not a real email address, we won't expect Blossom to sign. But what we can do in this case here is we can actually change the email over to Amreeta. So this is a use case where when we're sending a document to a recipient, whether we make a mistake with the name or the email address, or we've just sent it to the wrong person entirely, using this method, we can update the recipient's details without having to cancel everything and void the envelope entirely. So Amreeta, you'll get an email shortly, please. If you would mind signing that, we'll be able to see on our end when Amreeta goes through and completes that. There we go. Down the bottom here, in what we call the audit log. This is where we record an event of everything that happens on your envelope. So every email we send to your clients, every SMS we send, every time they open an envelope and when they sign, all of that is recorded and presented here. On refreshing the page, we can see that this envelope has now been completed. Everything's green. And then through the dashboard, this is where we can download that signed document. And what this looks like here is this is what we filled out, and we can see my digital signature and Amreeta's digital signature. The dates are also automatically calculated to be a reflection of the true time of signing. So traditionally dates you would expect to have to write in, when did I sign this document? And where in some cases that may be useful. What we're doing here is really enforcing an accurate date, an accurate time. And we have the evidence in our audit log to support that this is really the true time of signing. What we also have associated with every document is what we call a completion certificate. And a completion certificate or an audit log is what records and presents all of the information about that transaction that's just taken place. So information about the envelope, the unique identifier for that envelope. I might blow this up, sorry. And then we have here information about both recipients. So how we authenticated, the IP address that we used, the fingerprint of the device that we used, and the digital signature that was created for that recipient. And down here, we can see the same thing for Amreeta. So every recipient involved in the transaction, we collect this information, record it, and present it in a nice collated format for you to see at the end. And the audit log as well. Just as we saw back in Annature, the same audit log is printed on the completion certificate. And that's sending an envelope and signing it. It's fairly straightforward in what it does and what it collects, but the evidence that we're collecting behind the scenes is very powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. That was excellent. Thank you so much, Corey. We have a number of questions from the chat area. So if I can go through those to make sure they're all covered off. Can I also ask you, in terms of the timing that's allocated to the signature, we've got people from Houston calling in and from Malaysia calling in. Will it recognize the time? Where's it picking that time up from?
Yeah, so when you create your account, we can automatically detect the time zone of your browser. So we will save that.
If I send it to Jose in Houston and he signs it, is it his time zone or my time zone?
It's going to show his time zone, but what's important next to the date is that we actually record the UTC offset. So every time zone, GMT plus 10, GMT plus 11 for Sydney and Melbourne, I think. We clearly identify that on the completion certificate. And I apologize for missing these questions. With that screen share up, I wasn't actually able to see.
No, that's fine. We'll go through the questions here, now. We don't expect you to be able to do all of those things simultaneously. So I'll go back and just go through them. The first question we did have was from Martin Mace, and I don't know whether he wants to jump on and ask this, but I'll read it out. QBCC, which is a Queensland organisation, does not allow e-signatures for many of their forms. Have you had any talks with them?
Not QBCC specifically. Yeah, you go.
That's right. Off you go.
So QBCC in particular, no. We have been working closely with HIA, the Housing Industry Association, and they have their product for Forms Online. And this is a very big organization in construction where most builders are generating their documents out of that. So through a partnership with HIA, this is how we intend to kind of bring e-signatures into the construction industry to make it more acceptable.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you for that. If you don't use Xero to run your practice, does it save contacts that you use to e-sign envelopes for the next time you jump in?
Absolutely it does. So every time you send an envelope, the name, the email address, and if you're using a mobile number, we record that and we save that into your address book. And there's work behind the scenes to ensure that we aren't creating duplicates. So to answer the question, yes, we do.
Excellent. Penny, do you want to jump in and ask your question? Can you remember what it was?
Yeah, it was just about templates on that final section where you're emailing it to the person who's going to sign. Obviously, we send lots of different types of documents, and in a previous software, I was able to have templates set up so that if it was an engagement letter, it had a set engagement letter type template, so that I really only had to fiddle a little bit with it. Is that something that this can do as well?
Yeah, of course. So I'll just get my screen back up here and I'll show you how this works. So templates, what you've just referred to there, we call message templates. And we specifically use the word message templates to not conflict with our document templates, which are another feature altogether. So message templates, exactly as you've described this, how this works is that for engagement letters, we might create a template that says, hello client, your engagement letter. If you have any questions, please give me a call. So through this, what we can do is save that template, and we can save multiple here. We can create multiple. Next time we send an envelope, we have this new field. So only when you have a template do we give you an option to use one. By clicking that, we're able to populate that message altogether. And then the first thing you may want to do is just replace the name, hello, Corey.
Awesome. That looks unreal.
Answer the
Thank
question?
you. Yeah, it sure does. Thank you.
Thank you for your question, Penny. Alon Bernstein, you've asked a question. Would you like to jump on and ask it, or do you want me to ask it?
I'll ask it. Hi, I just want to know if you can send a Gmail link or Outlook link to I suppose a person who's going to sign a document.
Yeah, so accessing links is something that we have available through our API. And the reason we don't have this feature in our dashboard is an important one. By allowing you an option to download that link yourself and distribute that to your clients yourself, essentially we lose all ability to track how that link is being distributed. We would expect that in most cases you're emailing that to your clients, and there may be a nice personalized email, part of a welcome pack that you're formatting out. That's generally the use case that we see. And what we have to facilitate that is a feature that we call custom email templates. So through custom email templates, you're allowed to upload your own styled email. This can be personalized with your welcome greetings that contain attachments, nice images, any other subsidiary information that you generally send with those emails, and the link will automatically come with that. And that's important because this still allows us to track how we're distributing that email or how we're distributing that SMS to ensure that we know and we can confirm we delivered this to the intended recipient.
So you would send like your welcome pack from your system, basically, as opposed to sending it from Gmail.
Yeah. So that is something that we've implemented for a number of clients, is a big formatted message that contains other attachments, but is in the context of a document to sign, which is generally an engagement letter.
Okay, great, thank you.
Did you have other questions there, Alan? I can't tell who's asked those questions. Were they yours? If not,
no,
I'll just okay. So someone has asked, can you set up reminders, or do you need to send it more than once, or can you send it more than once?
No, so reminders are definitely there. I might just keep my screen shared here because a lot of these questions I can answer by demonstrating. So reminders, we have a feature called automatic reminders, and this can be set up collectively for your entire account. So any envelope you or anybody else in your team sends out, we can set up a schedule to say every 2 days, we're going to send a reminder to those that haven't signed, up to a maximum of 7 times. And we have a threshold there, so we're not sending out reminders indefinitely. We'll have some pretty angry clients if that's the case. But this can be customized once a week for 7 weeks, 2 times a week for 3 weeks. Now, this is the automatic process. We also have the option at any time to go into an envelope that is in progress, if this was in progress, and resend it manually. So where we saw this before, where it was just me that had signed and Amreeta was still in progress, by coming into Annature, I can actually choose to resend one rather than having to wait for that reminder schedule to tick in.
You know, another massive time saver overlaid in that whole process. So the next question is, with the number of envelopes in a package, are reminders and resends counted as a separate envelope?
Absolutely not. So this might tie into our pricing model and how we can, this may also answer a couple of other questions. So we price per envelope, and an envelope we also refer to as a transaction. So an envelope or a transaction can contain multiple PDFs, and it can be sent to as many recipients as you want. Automatic reminders, manually sending out emails again, they do not count towards your quota. That one transaction is one envelope and one charge.
That's really important to make note of, particularly when you do have multiple PDFs. There are other solutions there that charge per PDF, and there are other solutions that are charging per recipient. So as I said, we've just got one option here where everything's included, and reminders are also offered complimentary to it as well.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that. Kerry Black, do you want to jump in and ask your question? Are you still with us?
Hi, everyone. I've probably got a million questions.
You go for it, Kerry.
Probably the big one for me, when we're talking about multiple documents in an envelope, just say, for example, you'll have a tax return, a set of financial accounts and minutes. Where at the client's end, when they download them, do they download as 3 separate PDFs or as one PDF? The reason why I ask is we all know what clients are like. We might send the tax return, the accounts and the minutes, then they want to send something off to a financier, but I don't want the minutes or any other documents I may have sent in that envelope going as well.
Yeah, perfect. So just back to this example here that we used before, there was 2 documents associated with this envelope. We have the engagement letter, and we also had this blank terms and conditions page, which I probably didn't show, I apologize. So this was the page that we first saw, and this was terms and conditions. So this isn't a document that requires a signature, and this is also important to note, is that not every document you upload into an envelope needs to be actioned. This can just be a subsidiary document, such as a terms and conditions or a privacy policy, for example. So the email that recipients get on completion looks like this. We collate all documents and put them into one zip file. If we open that zip file in my Finder, once we extract it, we then have both of those documents individually. Now, this can also be customized again at an account level to collate both of those documents and create one. So I'll show you what that looks like from the Annature dashboard. So from here, when we're looking at our envelope and we go to download, we can download just the engagement letter. We can download just the terms and conditions, or here we can combine all documents into one file. And this will give you a PDF with both the first page and the second page in the one file.
Can we control and stop that to say people can't download them all into one file?
Yes, you can. So through the settings, remember this dashboard page here where we're downloading, this is only available to senders. So your clients wouldn't have this page. They would have access to download that document through the email that they receive. And it's through our email notifications page that we can customize how those documents are delivered in the email. So we can disable attachments altogether and require them to actually access it through Annature. This again provides another level of tracking where we can track every time they enter Annature to download those documents. When it's an attachment in an email, essentially it's out of our control. We no longer have the ability to track that. When an envelope contains more than one document, we can zip them all up into one. Otherwise, we send each individual document as an attachment. So for this example that we just saw, instead of seeing a zip file and the certificate of completion, we would have seen the engagement letter and the terms and conditions, and then the completion certificate.
So going on from that, if you, a client gets an email and gives them a copy of the documents, however you specify it. So later on, do they also have a login so that they could go back later and re-download if they've lost it?
Yeah, so if they want to make an Annature account, when that account is created, we do sync up any documents that they have been sent, so they are available for them to download in one location. We don't encourage, or we don't put a login screen in front of recipients prompting them to create an account, because the feedback we had with this is it's fairly intrusive. This process needs to be as simple as possible, and having a login screen there, we found a lot of clients are thinking this is part of the process. Oh, I need to create an account to sign this. I don't want to. I don't want to create another account. So we've removed that from our process. It's also used as a bit of an information grab from other providers, is collecting information anywhere and everywhere we possibly can, where we're not about that.
And the last question, sorry for all my millions of questions.
That's all right.
Where are your servers located? Because within our engagement letters, we have to know where they're located, because we've actually got to put that in our engagement letter.
Yeah, cool. I think somebody else asked this question as well. So Australian shores, and specifically the data is in Sydney.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for answering all my questions.
Now,
No,
Kerry,
you're
you also posted in the chat area asking about Myob Ar Integration.
Yeah, Amreeta answered, yeah.
Oh, okay. Can we just answer it for everyone to hear? So, are you able to answer that, Amreeta? Is there Myob Ar integration?
There isn't one at the moment, but we're looking at all of those solution providers, so whether that's APS, Myob, and again, if there's any slowness to that, is because they don't have the API capabilities, but we'll be definitely keeping updated there. We've seen this before, that everyone wants to be integrated to both those, APS and Myob, so we're actually working on them now.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for that, Amreeta. I will go through the questions in the chat area so that people watching the video back get the full experience. Victoria asks, what happens if someone pops into the office to sign, but their partner has signed electronically?
Someone pops into the office. So this would be a scenario where you've sent an engagement letter to two individuals.
Yeah.
One has signed electronically from home, and the second one has come into the office. Is that the scenario? Okay, so what we would do in that case is using the SMS feature. Everybody walks around with their phone. So by putting a mobile number in there and through the resend feature, not the automatic reminder, the manual resend, which we can do at any time with an envelope that's in progress, is we can hit a resend button and send a new text message that'll come up straight away on their phone.
I think maybe more the question was if they could print it off. Is that the particular question? If they can print one portion's e-signed and the other one's actually being printed?
Victoria, do you have anything to say to that? Maybe she's not here, I'm not sure. Well, I guess that would technically be possible anyway if they wanted it that way. But you've given the electronic version as well, the digital version, to store it properly. So thank you for that. Nicole, did you want to jump on and ask your question?
Sure. My question is with the text messages. What does the client see? Does it come from a particular number? Is it your number? How does that work? And what happens if the client replies to the text message?
Yeah, so we use Twilio as our messaging provider, and Twilio has a really cool feature that allows us to customize the sender name for any message that we send out. So part of our branding feature that we can help you set up through our onboarding process is we can create an 11-character sender name from you. And so if your business name fits within 11 characters, that's perfect. Otherwise, we might need to get a bit creative. And unfortunately, 11 characters is just a global restriction. This isn't something that we're imposing. So yes, we can customize we can customize who the SMSs come from. They don't come from a number. So where you might receive a SMS from RACQ or MyGov or Google for your authentication, we can customize that to come from you. The actual body of the text message as well is something that we can customize. So by default, there's just a nice default message that says you've been sent a document to review, please click here. And it's a really short link. We can provide the option for you to customize what that message looks like. You can insert your greeting, you can tailor it to the person, you can put your number in there if you have any questions. As for replying to those messages, again, with Twilio, we have an option to mark a message as transactional. And what that means is that there isn't actually an option to reply. So again, when you receive SMSs from RACQ or Google Authentication, you can't reply to those text messages. It's not really a number it hasn't come from a number that can ingest replies.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for that. Is it possible to send email from our domain? Absolutely.
Absolutely, there is, yeah. So for emails, we use a service called MailChimp, or otherwise Mandrill, and we can actually change the DNS records over to come from your domain. So this would involve somebody on your end with some technical knowledge, and specifically the terminology for this is DNS records and domain verification. Through that, we are able to, you're essentially giving us permission to use your domain, and therefore it's your domain that is used to go to your clients.
So next question. Is there an option in the workflow to add an internal approval step before it goes out for signature?
Yeah, perfect. So I will demonstrate how this works here. So using Amreeta.
This is really important too if we've got different permission settings. So you may have like the tax team or the compliance team and someone that's just approving it before it's sent. So we can actually customize that as well. That's a big one.
So enable signing order. So signing order, or it has been referred to as a routing order as well. This is where we can create a workflow where recipients receive envelopes in a sequential order. So this can be customized to be as simple as 1, then 2, then 3, or this can be 1 and then number 2, which is two people here. But how this works for your scenario is if I am the internal approver that needs to look over a document and approve this before it goes to Amreeta, who is the real client. When we send this envelope, Amreeta does not know it exists until Corey has signed. So this is how we use approval, is using a signing order or a routing order.
So that's the order of it going out, but what about when it's sitting internally, someone's prepared it, can it go through someone, say a supervisor, to say, yes, it needs to go out?
Yeah, in that case, we would leave the envelope as a draft, and through our Teams feature that allows you to add multiple accounts to Annature within your organization, this is where a second account can come in, make sure that you've prepared that envelope correctly, and maybe they can do the actual operation that sends it out. This example would be after it has been sent. Yeah.
Does a role have different levels of abilities?
Yeah. So we have 3 roles. We have a standard role, which talks about permissions within groups, which is something we can get to. We have a read-only role, this is where you may just have an analyst or a receptionist where all they need to do is go in and download documents, check on a status. They don't actually send anything. We then have an administrator, which, as we all know, is full permissions to everything.
Excellent. Excellent. Hopefully that's answered. That was a comprehensive answer for that person. I'm not sure who asked that question. Carla, I'm at your question. Do you want to jump in and ask it?
Sure.
Hey,
My
Carla.
question, hi everybody. And my question is about just if there's any reporting functions coming. So I was thinking when you were showing because I've been testing Annature and I'm loving it. So I'm the one that said that's loving it. When you were showing the audit trail and some of the data behind that, it would be really cool to be able to see like across your client base, the insights on, say, what devices they might be using and how they're going about, or browsers they're using, how they're going about signing, so that we can direct things in that way. So like percentages, or sort of looking at the database as a whole. Some seeing maybe most of our clients like to sign by text message. So then that might be our default workflow or the default setting for that particular client.
Yeah, okay. That's a really good idea. Not something we have thought of, but the benefit of collecting all this data is that it's very easy to create reports on this. And by having this data, it's not once we create a feature that enables reporting, it's going to start from that date. Is that when we do release reporting, we've got all this historical data to report on and have metrics there ready for you to go. What we do have in terms of reporting at the moment is number of envelopes that you're sending out each month, what your completion rate looks like. 90% of your documents are going out. Yeah, turnaround time is very important, because that actually allows you to put a time factor associated with your documents. Time spent preparing an envelope as well, very important. If you're spending 2 minutes to prepare an envelope and you have sent out 100 envelopes in a month, you just spent 200 minutes as opposed to what you may otherwise spend 10 minutes drafting out an email and a PDF document, and all the actions associated with returning that after the fact and
Massive time.
sending follow-ups.
Yeah. And something else that popped in my mind just then was, which I'm not sure if I've seen this feature, is an expiry on if they don't, say, complete something by a particular date or time. Do you have that feature?
It's in one of the coming soon features. And the purpose of expiry is something that we'd like to kind of work closely with our clients on, is understanding the purpose of an expiration and what the use cases around that are. We have no reason on our end from a technical background as to why we would need to expire an envelope. I know some software providers do, where after 30 days, if it's not signed too late, it's going to automatically void. There is no
an example I could give
us.
you is, say, for instance, they needed to sign something off that was a legislatively deadline. So, dare I say it, JobKeeper, there's things that need to be done within a certain time frame that those dates are imposed on us. So if the client doesn't do it, then that particular document becomes irrelevant.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, that's a perfect example.
Excellent.
And I have one more question in there, so I might as well throw it out there. Is there a partner program coming?
So Amreeta will be able to answer that one.
So do you want to just express a little bit more what sort of partner program you're after?
So that we would be able to maybe refer or sign up clients that are looking at digital signing into their own. Yeah. So.
Yep. So we have actually rolled that out already. We have quite a few clients that are passing down the solution themselves, and there's a revenue stream coming back to the source. So that's absolutely what's available. I can send you through the modeling and how we actually look at that. It's very easy to work backwards and saying, okay, well, if it's a revenue stream for your particular accounting or bookkeeping firm, so you may say, look, I want to generate 100,000, and then we can work back on how many envelopes you need, how many clients you have, penetration of that, and then obviously the dollar value in terms of the envelope. So that's available now. That's 100%.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Carla. I've got another question here. I'm not sure who it's from. Do you get notified when all the signing is finished via email, or do you need to access the software?
No. So on completion, there are a couple of things that happen. You, as the sender, will receive an email saying that the envelope has been completed, and these envelopes are attached as attachment in the email. And you can also open the link to go straight to the page in Annature where that envelope exists. And that's important, where you may be sending out thousands of envelopes and this is a way to take it straight to it. In addition to you as the sender being notified, all of your recipients are also notified. So in this specific example that we did earlier with Amreeta would have also received an email saying that the envelope has been completed with those documents attached. So it's not something that you need to go in and constantly check, has this been completed? We do take care of letting you know when that has happened. On the flip side of that as well, you would have seen during the signing process, we present recipients with an option to decline to sign if they want. And this is a requirement by legislation that needs to be there. There needs to be a way for a recipient to say, no, I don't want to sign this. I don't want to do business electronically. And when that happens, we also let you know that a recipient has declined. If they provide a message as to why they didn't want to sign, we'll expose that and let you know. But we're all about putting notifications in front and letting you know when completions happen, when decline happen. If you enter an email address incorrectly and it bounces, we'll also let you know that it's bounced and you may need to go and check the spelling is right or change it to somebody else. So yes.
Excellent. Thank you for that, Corey. Jose, you've asked a question. Do you want to jump in and ask it? You still with us, Jose?
Yes, I was in mute, sorry. Yes, it was related to in the availability on API. We have our own quotation engine application that it would be great to have attached embedded the e-signature.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
all over it.
A really good example of that would be through our partnership with FYI Docs. So an XPM add-on, FYI Docs in their workflow automation system is through their document management, they can send documents using Annature through their system. And all that's done, that's all done through our API. So after this, we can send you the documentation for the API. And this has a very comprehensive overview on all of the endpoints that are available to facilitate automated workflows. For most people, this may look like jargon, but to developers, this is everything you need to know about how to communicate with Annature to send envelopes.
Yeah, it works.
You had another question there, I think, Jose?
No, really, it was answered all the questions.
Okay.
It looks wonderful. It really is very interesting. I will try it right away. Thank you.
So you asked about WhatsApp.
From what, sorry?
WhatsApp.
Okay, I'll read it out and see whether
yes, for WhatsApp. Yes, you're right. Yes, thank you for reminding me. Is that it's pretty common in countries. A lot of our clients are coming from Latin America, and also we are aware that in a lot of countries, WhatsApp is more common than SMS. Then it's impressive how it's been adapted compared to other countries that we're using. In the US, we're using a lot of SMS, but any plan for integrating with WhatsApp?
Yeah, look, we need to do some research into whether or not that's something that Twilio supports out of the box. Being Twilio as our SMS gateway, it would be very simple if they did support WhatsApp to add a second or a third level of notification. If they didn't, it would just be a matter of finding out a provider that did support WhatsApp and working that in. So,
excellent. Thank you.
Something to look at.
Thank you, Jose. Another question here. Is it possible for clients to upload documents?
So not at the moment, but this would be something that comes in with a feature in the pipeline where we can show you attachments. So attachments is something that's going to be very important for KYC requirements, know your customer, where we may be requesting upload of a driver's license and a passport. And the steps involved with that involve us working with an identity provider like Equifax, for example, to securely collect and verify that information at the same time. So for Diane, who asked that question, is that the use case that you would see, is collecting like a passport and a driver's license? Identity documents?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, to collect identity documents from clients.
Yeah. So using a provider like Equifax, where, I mean, they're able to not only securely take those documents, but able to also verify that it is correct. That's who we'd partner with for that. And there's Equifax and Green ID that we've been in talks with to support that. So coming.
That's going to be massive. It seems to be rolling in across different countries. That verification and know your customer, know your client. Thank you very much there, Corey. There are so many questions, but I'm just going to keep going through them, Corey and Amrita. I hope you have some lunch and sustenance there. So Wendy's asked the question. Do you want to jump in and ask that question, or do you want me to ask it, Wendy?
Hi, I think it was Daniel explained to me the other day that if you send the signature request by email and by text message so that they have the option to choose, that there's a separate charge for the text message as well. Now, Heather told me about the two-factor authentication option. In the options, you can drop down and select two-factor authentication and enter a mobile number for them to receive a text message at, so that they can verify. They click on the link, they have to enter the authenticator code to access the document. So it's sort of security against anyone accessing those email documents. Is there a separate charge for that two-factor authentication text?
Yeah, so our pricing with text message works on a per use fee. So at the moment, we have our entry rate at 12 cents per SMS. When we work with you and we can anticipate larger volumes, we have discounts available to reduce that price. So to answer your question, when you're using two-factor authentication, we do not send an SMS notification initially prompting them to sign the document. Doing that would defeat the purpose of two-factor authentication.
Yeah.
Using an email to distribute that link and then requiring a verification code from the mobile, that is what satisfies the two-factor prompt. If we were to send an SMS to say, please sign this document, when they open it, that we then send them an authentication code again, we've already verified that they've come from their mobile. What we haven't verified is a second step or two factors of authentication. So whether you're sending an envelope using a text message without two-factor, or you're sending an envelope to an email and enabling two-factor, that would be the same thing. There'll be one charge for the envelope and one charge for the text message.
Yep. Thank you. So it's still only like about $1.45 and then 12 cents for the text message.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Corey. Alan has asked, could you demonstrate the search facility of signed documents?
Of signed documents. This might be a little tricky given we only have one document to look for, but what we can do through filters. So this is where we can search for documents in a particular status. Now we can also do this through the sidebar using these designated pages. So in progress, this would show all of the documents that are out for signing. These are the ones that we need to follow up on. Clients haven't signed them yet. Completed is going to be all of our completed document. Voided, again, documents that you have voided, and documents that are in draft. So through filters as well, we're also able to search by a sender. So in an environment where you have multiple accounts all sending envelopes, we can search by the name of a sender. So while this won't produce anything, we can demonstrate that if we had Daniel as an account, Daniel had been sending out envelopes, this would only show envelopes that Daniel had sent, not envelopes that I have sent. And we can also do this for date. So we can go back and look for all of the types of envelopes that have been sent from the 1st of March to the 31st of March.
Sorry, I'd be interested in searching by client, all documents that we've sent to a specific client.
So that will come as a third filter here, where you're able to enter the name of a client and associate documents that have been sent to them. This will also expand really well with our XPM integration. Once we start syncing groups and clients from XPM, is from the address book. Our plans for this is to expand the address book to be more of a database for go into a client and see all of the documents that you've sent to that client from this interface. And
also another question. I mean, I don't know if you've demoed actually templates, but you did message templates. It's different to actual templates. Is it possible just to,
So I can show you what templates looks like here. So templates, the engagement letter that we've demonstrated previously, this has been set up as a template. And I'll go through the process of how we set that up quickly. But to use a template that does exist, we're just presented with a really simplified version of that creation screen where we can enter a message, enter a name and an email address, and then we can also use Amreeta and just hit send. So what that's skipping is the process of uploading a document, the process of dragging and dropping the fields on those pages, and the process of giving it a name. All of that is automated through just using the template. How it actually works to create a template for the first time is fairly similar to the process of sending an envelope. The only difference we have here is that when we are adding recipients in a template, we refer to them as roles. We refer to them as roles is because a template isn't intended to go to a specific individual. It's intended to go to a client, which we define when we use the template, and back to a manager, which we define when we use the template. So setting up the fields works exactly the same. And I've ordered these documents the wrong way, which I'll fix after this. We can drag those fields on, reorder that document, and save the template. And then we can repeat the process we just did before to use that template. So all we're doing when we're using that is adding the name and the email address and hitting send. Uploading fields, we've used a template for that.
Thank you.
Alan, I believe, had another question, which was, are we able to export signed documents in bulk?
Not at the moment, no. So this would be available through our API or by using a Zapier integration to export those documents.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that, Corey. I think this question has been answered, but let me ask it just quickly. Can additional signatures be added after the envelope has been sent?
Additional signatures.
Yeah, so I guess you send it and then you realize, oh, I should have added another person on.
Yeah, so in that case, we would use a recall feature, which will actually be coming out tomorrow. And how that recall feature will work is once you've sent an envelope, provided none of the recipients have signed, we can recall it and revert it back to a draft. This allows you to modify the documents or the recipients and then send it out again. The reason we can't make changes after a document has already been sent out is once the document's been sent out and it's been signed by somebody, we've then started the process of collecting the events and starting that audit trail to then put a pause on that, allow the document to be changed, allow the recipients to be changed, would break that chain.
Heather, can I just elaborate? Because that was my question. What I kind of was, where I was going with that was back on the approvals type topic. My thought process behind it was, can, say, for example, a junior is preparing something and wants to send something to their supervisor to be checked before it goes out to a client. Say, for example, they send it to said supervisor and the supervisor actually wants it to go to the two partners rather than just the one that the junior has added to it. Could that senior person then add another person in? So no one's signed anything. The first receiver of the document as a whole has only just opened it, and there's no signing on their part. They're just reviewing to make sure that everything that's being sent to these clients is actually correct.
Yeah, so provided that that supervisor has an account with Annature and provided that they are an administrator role, which we
Yep.
would expect with a supervisor,
Yep.
because they haven't signed the document, we could recall this back to a draft and make changes to the recipients before sending it out
Right.
again. So, yeah.
Okay. All right, cool.
All,
No
all
worries.
that requires is that the supervisor would have an account with the administrator role in order to change somebody else's envelopes.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Penny. Thank you, Corey. Wendy, you had another question there. Do you want to ask it?
Sure. So with the templates, I tried to set one up just to modify the text that accompanies an envelope, and it asked me to attach a document. So I just attached something blank. But then when you just demonstrated that, we don't have the option to then attach a custom document, do we? So how do we just personalize that text that's going out with an envelope?
Yeah, so we would use message templates, which you might have missed from the beginning. So message templates is what allows you to template the message that comes out in this option here. So how we use that template when we're sending an envelope is through this selection here. And this is what automatically populates that message. Is this the message you're referring to, Wendy?
Yeah, that's it. Yep. So message templates, okay.
Message templates is the feature, yeah.
And one more question. I just connected my Xero file using the integrations. Can I bulk delete contacts? Because I only want my clients in there. I don't need all my suppliers in there.
Ah.
It brought them all across. Or will that, seeing as I've disconnected that integration, will that sync and take them all out, or do I have to go and delete them one by one?
We might need to help you with that from our end. So if you'd just like to send us an email, we'll have Daniel help you with that, who may have helped you with your onboarding as well.
And then Corey, I think we just need to have a look at the screen that we have there. Is a tick all perhaps as well?
There's not a, it's just the option to send all. So select all would be great.
Yep, we'll put that into the to-do list.
Yeah.
But in the interim, so please send through the, if you want us to fix up the files, that's fine. We can easily help you out there.
Started deleting.
We can help you both,
otherwise, it's beautiful. I talked to elderly clients through Annature just a couple of nights ago who are very unfamiliar with this program, and it was so much easier than the alternatives that I've used before. So I'm really liking it as well.
Oh,
fantastic.
Really
Thank you for that feedback.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Thank you.
We have another question here from Danielle. Do you want to jump on and ask that, Danielle?
Hello. So that question is, I guess, so we don't get a lot of notifications to the partner of the firm, but is there a way that you can add them after the client has signed? Or
absolutely.
If they're, okay.
So what I'll demonstrate here is a document that may go out to 3 clients, and then we have the partner. So in this case, what we can do is by enabling a signing order, we can set it up as we see here, 1, 1, 1, and then 2. So when we send this envelope, everybody in order 1 will receive the document at the same time. And then only after all 3 of these clients have signed, will it then go to the partner to sign.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. So when we use a signing order and we have someone with order 3, everybody with a lesser signing order must complete the document before number 3 gets it. So this is where we can create some pretty cool workflows with signing orders.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you so much for that, Corey and Danielle, for asking that question. Are there any other questions that people have? I can't believe we had that many questions about e-signing. It's obviously a very, very, very interested audience. So I'm very grateful for everyone who joined us. Please do ask any more questions while I'm just finishing up here. Amreeta and Corey, how can people get in touch with you?
Yeah, so the easiest way is through our website. So by creating a free account, which puts you on our trial for 7 days, we do not require a credit card. Daniel from our onboarding team, he'll reach out and he'll give you all the assistance you need to get started. And that involves uploading your logo, helping you with setting that up, assistance creating templates when it's required, any help to do with setting up those integrations with Xero, and even just going through a screen share to do exactly what we've done here today, which is talk you through the process of using Annature and being able to answer those questions in a one-on-one environment where it's really tailored to exactly your use case. So create an account or send us an email from our contact page. That's the best way to get in touch with us.
Excellent. Thank you so much for your time today, for answering all the questions. I think everyone will have had a lot of people turn up and a lot of questions. I think everyone will really benefit. And there's a lot of positive comments coming through in the chat area, which I think you've seen. So thank you so much, Amreeta.
Yeah, thank you all very much.
Pleasure. Yeah, thanks very much for having us. And it's good to see so many familiar faces as well. But please note that we have built this in mind with all our previous knowledge and history and what shouldn't do and what it can do. So looking forward to everyone jumping on and trying it.
Awesome.
All right, guys. Thanks very much. Take care.
Take care, everyone.